Hello, SMB Nation. Harry Brailsford coming to you live from the Seattle area. And I am with Marvin Bee, who is out of the Fort Lauderdale, Florida area, and MSP, a community member, a blogger, and a podcaster. So, Marvin, hello, welcome.
Hello, Harry. Thanks for having me on.
So Marvin, talk first. Introduce yourself. So you carry, as we say, you carry the bag by day. You're out doing the work. Tell us about your MSP practice. How long you've been in business? If you have any verticals.
So I've got a little network support company down here in Fort Lauderdale, as you mentioned. Started it in 1997. At the time, I was working at a computer store, and we kept having businesses coming in asking for support at their offices.
Yep.
And the boss at the time didn't want to do that. So we did a little bit after hours, and finally I said, I think I could make a go at this during the day and have that be my full-time job. So that's what I did, and went out and supported businesses. And at the early start of it, I got lucky and found somebody in the auto industry. So I did a lot of body shops, a lot of paint machines and network setups for that. Then I met a consultant that got me into the legal industry. Now my business is 70% law firms,
Wow.
where I will go in and support their networks.
I don't wish that upon anybody, but
well, I got lucky, and hopefully we'll stay lucky with that.
Yeah, no kidding. And then, in terms of product stacks, are you a security guy? Or are you a CRM guy? Do you have some product stack specializations?
I wouldn't call them specializations, but some of the things that I've been good at obviously include the networking support. We've moved into the backup and disaster recovery, where I've brought in, some Datto products to some of the smaller customers to protect them both locally and in the cloud. We do basically a lot of stuff with the legal field that most people don't know about, the case management systems.
Yeah.
And for the law offices that have multiple offices, part of what I've really been able to, push forward is the fact that I can help maintain the connectivity between the offices with getting them proper setups and, VPNs and WAN connections and stuff like that.
Yep. A former employee of SMB Nation, well known in our community, Beatrice Baltzer. Now it's Beatrice Phillips, but she's just north of you up in Titusville, Florida. She had a side gig, everybody does, and one of her things was to have in the legal profession, it was more of the courtroom software, the organizing evidence, the presentation of stuff. And I forget the name of the software. She picked a very specific product and was a reseller and subject matter expert on it. Do you play there? Do you help with the trial?
So not really. Down here in Florida, there are some well-established court reporting companies that will assist in that. There's actually a vertical that's kind of growing now, where some of the audio-visual and video people have come in to provide that, so they can do their video depositions, and that's a pretty specialized area. So I kind of tend to let them do their thing.
And that's how she treated it. It's not like she did their DNS and their web page and all that. She was very focused, right? And had to be. And it's okay. Let's move on. So you have a popular podcast series, a long format. I thought, I thought I had kind of nailed it with our national public radio, public TV type format. And sir, you have taken it to another level. What's the name of your podcast, and what's your story with that project?
Okay, so the podcast that I do is called Podnutz Pro.
Yep.
It is actually a show that is part of a broader network called Podnutz, and Podnutz, it's spelled Podnutz.
You see, sad.
And yes, and this is a collection of shows that were started many years ago by a gentleman called Steve Cherubino, and he was just, a computer tech, and was getting interested in the podcast thing back in 2009, 2010, and said, let me try my hand at this. And so what he would do is basically go out and do his computer repair during the day, and at night he'd come home, turn on a mic, and just share his stories. And that grew into the Podnutz community. And so now there are several shows on that, of which Podnutz Pro is one of those. The difference with Podnutz Pro is that we actually have a little bit more of a focus on business support and enterprise systems. And as you mentioned, the long format, because we do interviews with vendors and partners and other computer techs, and we take as much time as we need.
Yeah, exactly. And I had the pleasure, and thank you very much, of being on your show recently to announce the latest book. There we go. You might recall I've tried to kind of set up the CNN or MSNBC box.
Yes.
But I appreciate it, and it looks like that's what you do. Hey, quickly, by the way, we have the URL down below for people to click over and track you on Podnutz Pro. But quickly, you made mention of an event, a community event up in Michigan, September 20 through 22. So let's talk about that and how people might find more information on that.
All right. So that is an event called TechCon Unplugged. It is the first year going by that name. This actually grew out of a couple of other events called Unconvention and ITO Compass. It's a little bit of a smaller event. It is aimed at business owners and IT consultants, business repair shops, and it is more tech-driven than most of your conferences out there. Most of them, the vendors will come in and do their dog and pony show. We will have vendors there, but they are not allowed to just simply pitch. A lot of what we're going to be doing is having full blown up demos. We're going to have audience interactions, panels, and we actually have all of the participants actively involve themselves in the discussions and the demos. And this is a brainchild of Jeff Hallish and Paco LeBron out of the Podnutz community as well. But this is an event that's happening this September 20th through the 22nd in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I've sent you the link, techconunplugged.com is where people can go see all the information, see the schedule, and sign up.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. And you know what we're seeing, as I kind of literally wear my analyst hat, is we're seeing a flight to quality in events. For example, these smaller events are resonating with both the attendees and the vendors. And I would be so bold, I'm in Seattle, and part of my job is to be an ombudsman or an outsider looking in at Microsoft. As you and I are speaking, Microsoft Inspire is occurring in Las Vegas, the big Microsoft partner conference. And, God bless, I mean, I went for at least 15 years. It's not as relevant to our audience anymore. I used to say, you got to go to Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference, now Inspire. You got to go once, right? You got to go because you're in this world. And I guess I would still stand by that, but it's a $2,500 conference. And Carl Pelachek, another analyst, said just last week that it's really oriented towards people with $5 million in revenue and higher. It really is. And so, long way of saying, but a tip of the hat to what you're doing in the community to maybe have more focused, smaller events that have a different value equation. Does that make sense? I've had too much caffeine again.
Yeah, and I've had mine as well, but it makes perfect sense, which is why the Podnutz community, along with some other communities that have associated with us, is thriving, because basically a lot of vendors for a long time focused on not necessarily the 5 million all the time, but even 1 million and above in annual revenue. Well, there's a ton of businesses that are doing less than 1 million that are, pretty good businesses. They are needed businesses. And a lot of our small business, clients need people like us in the industry. So we have actually gone after, finding other partners that are willing to deal with techs like us. I'm not a big guy. I make a decent living, but I'm not making $1 million a year, but my customers are happy with what service I provide to them. And there are tons of other techs, computer repair shops, even smaller MSPs, that may have 5 or fewer techs. that need this type of assistance. They need to hear from other businesses who are just like them out in the trenches doing the work every day.
Well, let's make that the final word. And if you don't mind, let's get you back next quarter. Let's do a quarterly check-in. Folks, you have the resources to follow Marvin Bee, his Podnutz Pro, and the conference that's coming up roughly third week of September. Sir, I'm enjoying a 60-degree, blustery, rainy, windy day in Seattle. Take us out with what's the heat index down in Fort Lauderdale as we sit here in mid-July, my friend?
Okay. Well, currently in Fort Lauderdale, we are sitting at 86 degrees, but the real feel is 97.
That's what the one I'm talking about. All right, my friend. Thank you very much. And Jenny in the radio control room, thanks as always. Folks, have a great day.